Welcome to the 11th episode of Dialogika. I'm Stephanie Tangkilisan.
And I'm Sweetian Lee.
And this week we're going to talk about...
male feminism.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all the different labels that men can choose to take and the, controversies behind them.
And kind of unpacking this dirty phrase that people are scared of, especially men.
Just really thinking about what it takes to become a male feminist and the kind of considerations that we should all take as people who are trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah, and support the cause. And it's going to be a fun one because I think it's a little bit more of a conversation.
It's more
from a male feminist to a female feminist, right? So we're going to have different perspectives and we'll see how it goes.
So here's to it.
But I did want to stop by and make one thing very clear. I may be a little grayer than I was 8 years ago, but this is what a feminist looks like.
This topic of male feminists and male feminism has always been a near and dear thing in our hearts, but what given us the ability to showcase it this week is Barack Obama's fantastic letter that he wrote in Glamour talking about how men need to be feminists as well and take on that mantle.
And how he himself identifies as a feminist.
And the line that really stuck with me is what he said, it is absolutely men's responsibility to fight sexism too. And as spouses and partners and boyfriends, we need to work hard and be deliberate about creating truly equal relationships.
What I found really fascinating about this letter is that he only talks about himself being president at the very beginning just to set itself up.
Yeah.
But then the rest of the article can apply to any male feminist who's trying to get other people to come on board.
And he cleverly positioned this especially as a father and as a husband, right?
Yeah.
And what's interesting as well is he didn't have to write this, but two, he's been very public about being a feminist before, but this is the first time I think he wrote such an extended piece.
I also think he did this purposefully after the Democratic National Convention has officially nominated Hillary Clinton as the first woman to be nominated for a major party presidency. Yeah.
But this is the first time a woman had a very reasonable chance of winning the United States presidency.
And, the way he ended the letter was also, he acknowledged that fact that Hillary's nominated and it's a historic moment. And I love that he mentions no matter which side of the aisle you're on, you should recognize this as a historic moment.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of being a male feminist is that you recognize when progress is made, even if it doesn't involve you at all, especially for Obama, right? Like he's going away, he's exiting, right?
Yeah.
But he's trying to create a conversation and create a legacy of some sort, I think.
And I think giving space to women, right, in this conversation. And I think he was very strategic in positioning his role as well as a father, as a partner, as a husband. I think a more perfect place to put this maybe would have been like Men's Fitness or like other men's magazine, right? Because it's not necessarily written for women. It's about the role men have to play in feminism and gender equality. And I guess what we talk about when we talk about male feminists is the general, he for she campaign or feminism today. It has widened its reach in the way it's defined feminism, right?
Yeah.
The word feminist have almost been rebranded and widened in its scope in the sense that if you believe in equality for men and women politically, socially, and economically, then you are a feminist.
While we think that's obviously part of it, that can't just be a given when you're being a male feminist. You have to engage and understand and recognize that there is an inherently biased and skewed power system and foundation that's biased towards men, recognizing those privileges, and engage actively with women and with other men in particular as a male feminist to change that system.
Yeah. Just to add more dimension is that what feminism means in the sense of like realizing all of the various shades and forms of oppression and internalized misogyny and a patriarchal system of oppression towards women, right?
And the way that manifests in different contexts and situations depending on where you live in the world and the society you're living in, right? This is truly the age of intersectional feminism.
Yeah.
That's the wave we're in right now.
Mm-hmm. So like intersectional feminism is feminism that is aware of different kinds of race issues, class issues, and other ways that women's issues can be different across these different spaces and where women are coming from, and acknowledging that and not saying that just because I am a well-to-do feminist that I know what is right for other women.
Mm-hmm. That there's no one universal way of being a feminist.
The needs of women are different across space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just Barack Obama speaking out on being a male feminist. Justin Trudeau is also another soon-worthy head of state.
And it's not just politicians. You've got a lot of celebrities, actually, and personalities who are coming out in support of feminism.
And very vocally so.
Mm-hmm. You've got people like Aziz Ansari, the comedian.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes.
Ryan Gosling. Also Terry Crews. He's Terry from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And the guy from the Old Spice commercial.
Older blocker body wash is so powerful it can block BO for 16 hours. It's so powerful it can turn off the sun. But then it gets too cold, so it makes another sun. Double sun power! Power!
I think more people might know him from the Old Spice commercial than his actual show. But yeah, so these guys are all coming out in public, on television shows, on various platforms to be vocal about being a male feminist.
As most guys are, the NFL, the whole thing, you're the manly man, you're tough, boys don't cry, we're hardcore. But the problem is the Marlboro man always ends up alone. And his wife can't talk to him, kids can't talk to him, and he's somewhere in a woodshed bawling his eyes out because nobody else visits him. And my thing was, I was like, whoa, I have to soften and experience empathy. And I started to see myself through my wife's eyes and through my kids' eyes. And that changed everything.
You're a feminist.
Everything. I am a total feminist.
Me too.
And it's becoming, I think, dare I say it, a little bit more commonplace?
Definitely. I don't think that a lot of celebrities took up this mantle, let's say 10, 15 years ago, right?
Or even 5 years ago.
Or even 5 years ago. It's like sudden and very, very welcomed. Mm-hmm. I also really like the fact that there's different kinds of male feminists, right? Mm-hmm. There's more sensitive hipster types like Joseph Gordon-Levitt or Ryan Gosling.
Or Justin Trudeau.
And then there's like Terry Crews, who's like...
a former NFL player too. Right, yeah. There are different ways to be a male feminist.
Yeah, let's talk about the difference between male feminist and feminist allies. For me, the difference between feminist and a feminist ally is, or even pro-feminist, is you're a pro-feminist or a feminist ally. It means that you support gender equality and you definitely think that sexism is a problem, but you are not ready yet to educate yourself as much about all of these women's issues. And you're not ready to necessarily take a stand, but you're supportive of the idea.
Okay. I was actually thinking an ally would be more educated, but it's interesting that you're taking it down a further notch.
Yeah, so actually me and Sway have a lot of different bars, right? I actually set my bar pretty low on feminist ally.
And I set my bar pretty high, apparently.
Yeah.
I feel like an ally should be somebody who is not just supportive, but has already educated themselves, but is not willing to participate externally, I guess, or be more public about their advocacy work or being an activist,
So what does that mean? You're not being an you're not advocating, but you would step up in a conversation and with your friends.
Yeah, exactly. You're not necessarily somebody who's gonna, pick up a microphone in the middle of a square and talk about feminism, but you will talk about feminism to your friends and family, to people close to you. That's what I've always thought as an ally, is that you will be vocal about your support, but not vocally enough, or not publicly
So it's
vocal.
almost because you can't be an ally if you're just I believe in it.
But you don't talk about it to anyone.
Yeah,
then
that's you're not being truly an ally.
But for you, an ally doesn't necessarily have to do all of that, as long as they're supportive of the movement.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But you think what I consider a feminist is for you a male ally. There's
a little bit, but I think it's about private and public spheres.
Yeah.
How do you voice your support If you're more public about it, I think you're a feminist. If you're more private about it, I think you're an ally.
So it's almost like if you're a feminist, you have to take on the mantle and almost be like, have the social cost, right? And putting yourself out there in feminism and like really educating yourself and even try educating other people. And that's the difference, I guess. There's another placeholder named like pro-feminist, which means like you're definitely pro what they're doing, but you know, you're gonna let them do what they do and you're just gonna be on your own island of status quo.
Yeah. What I usually find problematic is that if you're not even willing to become an ally, whether it's Stephanie's definition or my definition, that means again, one, you're defaulting to a status quo, and two, you're too lazy to engage with either side of the argument, the pro-feminist side and the anti-feminist side, right? You're not willing to take any stand, and you're just like, you know what? I'm not affected by this, so I'm just gonna sit back.
I don't have time for this right now.
Exactly, and I just don't see how. I was telling Stephanie this. Nobody in this world has not experienced or seen sexism. It affects half the population.
Yeah.
So how can you just say, I have no time for this, and I'm just gonna step back and be like, you know what, you guys do your thing.
Yeah.
I think that's just laziness.
Yeah.
Right? Like, being an ally, if you take Stephanie's definition,
Yeah.
that's the
bare
lowest bar possible. You're supportive of the movement. How can you not be? But then, like, if you're not supportive of the movement, then claim that.
Yeah.
That you're not an ally.
Yeah.
And be comfortable in your misogyny.
The thing is to realize if you're part of the status quo is the status quo is a product of patriarchy, and the fear of the word feminist ally or male ally is a part of the patriarchy. Like, you are not alone on this island where you can be an absolutely neutral and impassioned and unbiased judge of like sexism.
You can't be Switzerland.
You can't be Switzerland. Like, this is not a place for neutrality.
No.
It's either you believe in gender equality or you don't. Like,
I think people think that the status quo is right in the middle. No, it's on the other side.
yeah. Especially when it comes to like these kind of issue where the power is on the other side, right? And then the marginalization is on the other side, and being in this like status quo position is being the same as being in the position of like perpetuating the unfair and unjust unequal power dynamics.
Yeah. And I also think it's part of it is that men are born into the other side, right? They need to actively get out and
learn and be
switch
open
sides.
and receptive towards the experiences of other women.
Yeah, and people are just too lazy sometimes, I think, to even take that step.
So any tip for allies or male allies, as I just brilliantly coined?
Just claim it, because that's the lowest bar you can be. If you're not a sexist, then you're an ally, and you should be supportive of that and own that. All right.
In practical way, what's the male feminist do or don't?
Yes, teach us. Great feminist
Oh my god, no.
lady.
One thing that is useful,
Don't be an idiot.
please Google things first. Just in general, right? Like, a lot of the questions that men think are thought-provoking and so unique
And so woke.
and so woke is some of the most basic questions you can have about feminism. And, like, just Google it first, essentially. Like, there's a lot of great resources out there for people to read and understand and soak in. You should do your own homework. Never expect a woman to lead that and teach you about feminism. And never expect or get mad at women for being like, no, I'm like legit too tired to like have this conversation 5 million times. I'd personally be pretty wealthy if for every time a guy asked me to tell them about feminism and I actually taught them, that I would be rich. Like, I would not have to hustle as much. Like,
Yes. I have a question then.
no, Google it first.
Well, no. Here's the thing, right? Like, I feel like some men think that just by asking these questions to women, that's feminism.
Oh god, no.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like, oh wait, I asked a woman for their opinion. I'm a feminist now.
Okay, cool.
Right. Like, educate yourself. Google is a wonderful resource.
Yeah.
This is not the first time somebody has talked about feminism.
Yeah.
Any other tips?
never condescend a woman of her experiences. So basically, like, so if a woman is telling you something about her experience or the sexism that she's received, never doubt that, you know, and be an empathetic sounding board for her opinions. Just give her space to talk about it the way she wants to talk about it, but don't force her to talk about it either. And never, for the love of God, play devil's advocate.
Yes.
And you don't have to say, like, oh, but have you considered this brilliant logical thought? And like, or create like some weird mental logical gymnastics to justify your opinion about something. You don't have to, like, the role of male feminists is not try to be smart. It's like try to understand.
Try to be supportive and be empathetic.
And definitely speak up more against other men. Don't speak over other women, but definitely speak on behalf of women to other men. Because the most strategic point for having male allies or feminist males is in males having a very good ability to speak to other males about sexism in a way that's not like, oh, obviously you're going to say that because you're a girl.
Yeah.
I really generally don't think that it's particularly productive for men to teach women to be feminists. Although there are very sobering parts where I've been called out by a male feminist and they were actually right about something, right? So like a male feminist who's much more woke in his journey told me like, yeah, like, hey, the comment you said about sex workers or like slut, I don't remember what it was, but it was basically like, oh, so I was 17 or 8, no, I was 18. Okay. So like I was still coming from a like very Christian, conservative upbringing background. And I kind of said like slut shamey comments, right? And he was like, hey, that's like pretty not cool. Like that's her choice and her ability to express herself the way she wants. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. And it like really allowed me to take stock of the fact that I was not there yet. I mean, I still remember it like, was it 8 years from that point, right? So it's like definitely there is a space for constructive criticism as long as it's definitely the right kind, right?
Yeah.
Where it's criticizing women who were punching down.
And calling out sexism,
Yeah.
no matter which gender it came from.
Yeah.
Right?
We were talking about Soy's journey of like becoming a male feminist. So Sweden's ex-girlfriend is feminist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak on her behalf, but I think she would agree.
Yeah, and I was asking, the question I asked you before was, do you think dating a feminist made you more of a feminist?
I think after that relationship ended, when I'm still friends with her, when she said that I'm more of a feminist than her, that made me more feminist.
Okay.
But I do think that dating a feminist is, you see the ways that the patriarchy affects somebody that you care about deeply in a way that you don't see as a guy.
Yeah.
Right? I think feminist women are more vocal in general about pointing out those instances, especially in a relationship to somebody they care about. Then they're going to point out even more, right? So I think that's what really made me realize it more. That's part of why I think if I'm dating a non-feminist woman, they don't see it, but I see the patriarchy. And I can't, like, my head will explode.
See the patriarchy everywhere, and you're like, why aren't you
seeing it? It's affecting you. Right?
You can't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
You don't have time for this anymore.
Yeah.
You had time when you were 18, but not anymore.
I mean, so like that's my journey, becoming a male feminist on my own. But what about your journey in making male feminist?
It has not been successful.
She's tried.
She's trying. Yeah, I think it's generally pretty difficult just because I don't know what it is. Also, I haven't really tried that much in general. Like, maybe I've tried it with like more seriously with like my dad, and I think it's because unless there's like internal motivation to really learn, it's almost very difficult to make people see your point.
The potential.
Yeah, but it's also like sometimes it's like, I know I have a lot of male friends, and most of the time I just don't care enough to like.
It's a lot of work.
To have this conversation, and I generally think it's a guy's responsibility to learn more, right? And personally, like if it's in a relationship, it's very exhausting to try make somebody see your point of view.
Especially with something like feminism where it's not easy, right?
Yeah.
We're not dealing with like pop culture topics.
Yeah, and it's almost sort of like hurtful to talk about it and then not having that be like, yeah, no shit, I'm a male ally. It's almost like, because like what you're saying, right? If when you were in a relationship with someone and you see all of the sexism and stuff more intimately in the person you care about, it starts to like change you internally, right? Into becoming more feminist. It's not that she directed you, but you saw that.
Yeah, she didn't make me change. I think the relationship made me change.
Yeah.
And I think that's how, in my opinion, I mean, maybe, again, I might be asking for a higher bar, is that this is how men should become male feminists, in my opinion. Like, you see the effects of the patriarchy on the people you care about. And it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. Your mother, your sisters, the people you care about, the women in your lives. You see it affect them, and you should be affected by that too if you really do care about them.
Since we were talking about relationships and love, I wanted to talk about Matt McGorry's article about how becoming a feminist is like falling in love.
And Matt McGorry is an actor from Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, and he basically started this article with how he was listening to Emma Watson's speech in the UN about gender equality, and he started crying. And then this is what he said. And it's a very beautiful article, so you should definitely read it. So he writes, "The moment I heard Watson say, 'If not me, who? If not now, when?' I felt a shift inside me, but the rare and instantly recognizable feeling that I would never be the same. I now know that feeling reminded me of falling in love. I've always been hyper-conscious of offending other people or making them feel uncomfortable. It is certainly easier to remain on neutral grounds when it comes to social and political issues. Given my resistance to speaking out on social issues in the past, my tears were a moment of passionate realization that I could and no longer remain quiet. It scared me. What kind of resistance would I encounter from fans, haters, and other people in the industry, even those who supported the same movement but thought I was going about it wrong or opportunistically? Would I risk ostracizing myself? The thing was, I didn't care anymore. It would be easy to say nothing, just like it would be easy to avoid love by curling into an emotional fetal position every time you were confronted by someone with a capacity to push you, change you, and challenge you to explore all those terrifying nooks and crannies of your psyche." But as humans have known for all existence, most good things in life require difficulty and courage, also known as YOLO. Thank you so much for listening to us this week. We hope you kind of took away something from it. As always, music credits to Jazzart, Ryan Little, and Broke for Free.
And if you haven't followed us on YouTube, our latest channel, you should definitely follow us.
We're also still going to be on SoundCloud, but we want to highlight YouTube a bit more.
And also, it's a lot easier, I guess, to listen on YouTube than, say, like open up SoundCloud or, go into iTunes and download the podcast. So we're trying to make it easier for you guys to listen, to enjoy the episodes.
Yeah. And once again, we always really want feedback. So email us at dialogikapodcast@gmail.com or send us a Facebook message or comment on YouTube.
And as always, we'll have resources and links at our website, dialogika.id. And
thanks so much for listening.